Welcome to Fan Fave with Katrina.
Fan Fave with Katrina.
It's time to talk pop culture.
Welcome back. I'm your host Katrina, and today we are going to be talking all about the hottest, most exclusive club in all of New York City for Thanksgiving. And I'm not talking about the dinner table and a Gossip Girl Thanksgiving episode. I'm talking about the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. For those that don't know, I've actually been in the parade twice, so we have a lot to talk about today. But first, let's do a quick pop recap to discuss all the stories, news, and trending topics that I have not been able to stop talking about since the last time I spoke to you all. First up in music, nominations for the 67th Grammy Awards came out, and congratulations to SZA, who's leading with 9 nominations. She got the most nominations out of anyone else. That's amazing. Also rounding out the top nominations are Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo, Boy Genius, Miley Cyrus, Jon Batiste, Victoria Monet, and Billie Eilish. The ceremony takes place February 4th, and I cannot wait to see who takes home these awards. This has obviously been such a great year for music, so congratulations to all of the nominees. Also, the Beatles released new remasters for their historic Red and Blue compilation albums, and they also released a brand new song called Now and Then. But here's what's really cool about this, you guys. Through the use of artificial intelligence, they were able to revitalize a vocal recording that the late John Lennon recorded in the 1970s, and then they also used recording from the late George Harrison's guitar and vocals from 1995 to produce a beautiful and cohesive track, now to be known as the final song from the Beatles. I just think that's such a really cool thing they did, especially using AI like that. Last thing for music news, I just want to say, that lyric change Taylor Swift did on tour in Argentina is iconic. Karma is, in fact, the guy on the Chiefs. We love that. We love it. Now, in the Broadway world, Water for Elephants announced its cast, and you guys, I already talked about this. I'm so excited for this show. It's like my Greatest Showman light, and I should stop calling it that because Water for Elephants is actually a movie based off of a book, all of which that came out before the Greatest Showman film, but it still feels exactly like the Greatest Showman from what I've seen, and so I'm just excited for this. But now they've got Grant Gustin playing the lead role. They just announced this, and I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic. Now, some people may know him best from playing the Flash on the CW series, but he's actually been in a lot of stuff in the musical theater world, so this isn't just like a stunt cast or anything. He's actually theater trained, and he's going to be so good. I cannot wait. In not so good theater news, Here Lies Love announced that it's closing at the end of the month, and I just think this is really, really unfortunate. It was a diverse story to be told, and it was such a unique piece of theater. I mean, they literally reconstructed the inside of this Broadway theater, tore up all the seats inside to create a whole dance floor and club experience. It's such a creative set design experience to come out of Broadway, and so it really sucks to have seen them kind of put their hearts out on the stage and just like really put all of this into the production for it to close so soon. I just really, in general, hate how fast a lot of Broadway shows are closing. Like, they just come and go. And it's like, I wish there was more of a longevity that didn't have to rely on like stunt casting or big names and just like people enjoying unique theater. Now, in the film and television industry, great news, the SAG-AFTRA strike is officially over. The Actors Union released a statement saying that in a contract valued at over $1 billion, they've achieved a deal of extraordinary scope that includes above-pattern minimum compensation increases, unprecedented provisions for consent and compensation that will protect their members from the threat of AI, and for the first time, they established a streaming participation bonus. Now, they also saw raises in pension and health caps and numerous improvements for multiple categories, including outsized compensation increases for background performers and critical contract provisions for protecting diverse communities. This is fantastic news. Congratulations to all of the actors. I'm so glad that this era of the Hollywood industry is over and that the entire industry is better for it, with better opportunities and better benefits for people that are working in these careers to continue on making the stuff that we love. Now, speaking of the stuff that we love, now that the strike is over, there are a lot of like trailers and a lot of announcements that are really starting to kick up and get promotions going with. And a new trailer for Mean Girls just dropped. And I just had one question about it. This is the movie based off of the Broadway musical of Mean Girls, which is obviously based off of the movie Mean Girls, which is based off of a book. It's like a whole thing. But why did this movie trailer, the new one, the full-length one, not have any music from the Mean Girls musical? And this has been such a big, discussion online. A lot of people are saying that, oh, the Mean Girls musical forgot that it was a musical. But I think it's actually something bigger where maybe they're just trying to market it less as the musical, because I feel like musicals, maybe people won't be as interested in going to see it. And so they're trying to market it to a bigger audience by just making people think they're going to see like a reboot of Mean Girls. But at the same time, I feel like it's very interesting to be a musical now, and I just wish that they would show that and just show more of it, or at least release some music from it, like one song, like some sort of clip, because I'm sure people aren't going to want to go into the theater and then be shocked that it's a musical, you know? But I get it, coming after stuff like Dear Evan Hansen, different musical movies that did not go over well. I get maybe a little bit of apprehension in pushing the fact that it's a musical, but I really, really would love to see more musical clips from it. Personally, I am very excited for this, and I know a lot of people kind of get touchy when their favorite classic movies or TV shows get rebooted or remade, and there's a lot of complaints online, people comparing Renee Rapp as Regina George to the original movie. And I just want to say I will defend this film as long as it's good from the people who want to compare it to the original in a bad way, because unfortunately it's not for them. This is a new take on the movie. It's based off of the musical for one part, but then it's also going to have a lot more Generation Z commentary. So Regina George in this 2023 film is not going to look like the Regina George in the original movie that's over 20 years old. She's just not. So I just wish that people wouldn't compare as hard. And it's hard to imagine people not comparing, because obviously it is based off of previous IP, but I wish that people would go in with more of an open mind and look at this more as a new, more present day take on Mean Girls. And with that in mind, I'm very excited for it. Now, another trailer that came out was the trailer for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Now, this is the sequel to kind of the reboot of the Ghostbusters franchise, Ghostbusters Afterlife, which came out back in 2021. And I absolutely loved Ghostbusters Afterlife, just to preface with that. But this new Ghostbusters movie actually looks very, very good. I'm going in with high hopes. I didn't think they could do it again, but they might actually. And I just love, this entire concept, turning New York City into complete ice. That's crazy. And even the trailer gives a little bit of suspense. But, I feel like they have such a strong, establishment already with these new characters and, this new world that Ghostbusters Afterlife kind of put out there, to the point where, now they can kind of expand out and they're bringing back the original Ghostbusters again. So I just know this is going to be a really good film. I cannot wait to see this. Now, jumping over to television, Timothée Chalamet hosted SNL with musical guest Boy Genius, and I will not stop talking about this episode. It was such a strong episode, and maybe my favorite all season so far. I mean, there was so much singing from Timothy. I feel like he was trying to prove, yes, he can sing, because I really didn't know he could sing. I know he can rap. I've seen statistics videos, but I did not know that he could sing. And the monologue had a rap that was absolutely hilarious with Marcelo Hernandez, Punky Johnson, and Kenan Thompson. And then he brought back his character from Rap Roundtable the last time he hosted. But what I did not expect was for him to bring back the Tiny Horse sketch as Giant Horse. And it's so funny because for the first 45 seconds to a minute of that sketch, I had no clue where it was going until he finally showed the horse. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did not think they were going to bring that back. And then I have to say another highlight from that episode was Chloe Trost, who is the newest cast member of SNL. She just joined this season. And she did a sketch. It was the 10-to-1. It was called Little Orphan Cassidy. And you guys, it's so funny, but I did not know that she could sing. And everybody was just such in shock all over social media over it. And so I think that that's one that you should definitely go check out and watch if you haven't already. I'm really excited now, seeing her break out with this sketch. I can't wait to see what she does for the rest of the season. Another TV show that I am really into right now is actually a reality show, Love Island Games. I just want to say I live for drama and I live for this show. Like, the only other season of Love Island that I watched was the USA season 2, which was during the pandemic, so I could like easily keep up with it. And so part of the reason why I wanted to tune in now is because they brought back Selly and Justine from that season, who were like two of my favorites. And then there's also this drama with Johnny that I had to just see through. But I also really love this concept of how they brought in people from everywhere. Love Island UK, Australia, Sweden, France. Like, this show is so much fun. It feels like a Super Bowl for the entire show. They keep pulling people from everywhere. And I'll admit I'm a little bit behind right now because they release episodes like every single day. But it's so much fun to watch. Definitely check it out and let me know what you think about all the drama. I love it. Now, in random news, weird way to categorize this section, but we're going to go with it. It's just anything that's not music, film, television, or theater. But first up, Met Gala theme got announced. It's called Sleeping Beauties Reawakening Fashion. I think this is a really cool theme. Like, it sounds a lot more interesting than the ones from the most recent years. The Met exhibit will actually feature 250 pieces from the Costume Institute's permanent collection, but it will be presented in an innovative way, with many of the pieces rarely being put out on public display before, and some are actually so old and fragile that they may never be worn again. This idea of looking at the history of fashion, pulling together old looks from hundreds of years with modern pieces, it's just going to be so good. And let me tell you, plain black suits never went anywhere. So you can't wear that this year. You'll be reawakening no one. You will put me to sleep. But I love to see great Met Gala looks. Back when I lived in New York City, I would actually go uptown to see all the celebs head out to the red carpet, and I just love it so much. So I cannot wait for my first Monday in May. Next up in random news, this is a bad one, you guys. Terrible news I'm about to tell you all. Charles Entertainment Cheese is getting rid of animatronics. This is like the worst news ever that doesn't even affect me. But some people are blaming it on the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. And I watched the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, but like, I don't think that's the same audience. And I also haven't heard of anyone acting out at a Chuck E. Cheese because of it. It just seems to be part of a larger move for the company to restructure the entirety of Chuck E. Cheese into more of a digital space, because kids are on their phones like all the time now. And so they're just trying to fit the market of children today, I guess. They say they're like going to be adding interactive dance floors and giant video walls and screens. So screen time for kids, they're going up. Fans of Chuck E. Cheese in Northridge, California, though, you're the lucky ones, because that location will be the only one to keep their animatronics. Lastly, Six Flags and Cedar Fair announced their plans to merge, which is a huge deal. The merger will lead to the company having 27 amusement parks, 15 water parks, and 9 resort properties across 17 states in the US, Canada, and Mexico. I'm really curious what this is going to mean, though, for the overall experience in the parks. A lot more coverage for sure in terms of characters and storylines that actually can be used in the park. Cedar Fair, they have the licensing to all the Peanuts characters like Snoopy and Charlie Brown, while Six Flags has all of the Warner Brothers, like the Looney Tunes and stuff, and the DC superhero characters. I actually live in between a Six Flags and a King's Dominion, so I've been to both quite a few times, and I'm just curious how it's going to affect this area with the branding and all, because I feel like over the years my local Six Flags has kind of gone down. So I'm wondering if this collab will save it, because King's Dominion has always been pretty alright. So I wonder how that balance is going to be. Now it's time to get into the topic of today. The biggest and one of the most iconic parts of Thanksgiving celebrations is the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. In today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about the history of it, what to expect this year, and then I'm going to talk all about my experience, as I was actually a balloon handler in the parade, not once, but twice. That's right, I walked those 2.5 miles carrying a balloon throughout New York City, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade has a rich history that dates all the way back to 1924. The very first parade actually occurred to showcase the opening of the world's largest Macy's on 34th Street. It had this huge expansion, and it actually wasn't even for Thanksgiving. It was actually titled the Christmas Parade. Now, this first Macy's Christmas parade took place on November 27th, 1924. It featured a collection of live animals borrowed from the Central Park Zoo, like real elephants, guys, monkeys, camels, bears, donkeys too, and then they also had bands, floats, and store employees dressed in various costumes, such as clowns. The parade marched from 145th Street in Harlem to Macy's flagship store in Herald Square, covering a distance of over 5 miles. This parade was viewed by 250,000 people, and it was such a success that it began to overshadow a previously popular way that Americans would celebrate Thanksgiving called Ragamuffin Day. This was very interesting because I literally had never heard of Ragamuffin Day before, and apparently it was like a trick-or-treating type of situation where kids would run around the city acting up and asking for free food and candy and stuff. But yeah, with the emergence of the Thanksgiving Day Parade, Ragamuffin Day parades slowly faded into obscurity, and the last one was actually in 1956. Now, in 1927, the parade introduced its first giant helium balloons, featuring characters from popular culture and replacing the use of live animals. Felix the Cat was the first ever character balloon, and it set the stage for the iconic balloons that would become a hallmark of the parade. But guys, fun fact, or honestly not so fun fact, but still interesting, did you know they actually used to let the balloons go into the air at the end of the parade? Which is like really dangerous, And then they actually used to give people $100 gift cards if they found the balloon and shipped it back to Macy's. Obviously, due to accidents, they stopped doing this, but the fact that they ever did is crazy. Over the years, though, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade grew in size and popularity. It was suspended during World War II, but resumed in 1945. And then, as we all remember, it was scaled back during the COVID-19 pandemic as well. The parade was broadcast on television for the first time in 1948, making it even more accessible to a national audience. Over the years, the parade has continued to evolve, with new balloons, floats, and performances being added each year. The floats, I feel like, are typically brands and paid promotions, but they're still cute. And then they'll have fun music artists on stage, and some of those balloons are like super historic, and then new ones are also being introduced each year to keep up with the popular characters that the children of that time love. The parade has become a beloved tradition for millions of Americans and is watched by people all around the world. Today, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade features a wide range of entertainment, from Broadway musicals and the Radio City Rockettes to high school marching bands, and it marks the unofficial start of the holiday season in the United States. And I think that's just what I love so much about the parade. Just how it starts off with theater, this display of the dazzle and excitement of New York City, with like Broadway. And then we have this big celebration, but it ends with Santa ushering in the holiday season officially. It just feels like such a breath of fresh air, and I just have so many great memories over the years watching the parade at home with my family, and then the dog show also after the parade ends before having like a big dinner with all of my family. And it was just such an important part of my childhood growing up, and every year I would always dream of being able to one day go and watch it all in person. This year, there's going to be 25 different balloons in the parade, including new balloons like Beagle Scout Snoopy, Blue Cat and Chugs, and one I'm very excited about, Kung Fu Panda's Po is getting a balloon. The floats will feature a variety of performers, including Cher, Jon Batiste, and Pentatonix, and before the balloons and floats and clowns and performers begin their route, we'll see performances from a variety of Broadway shows, including Shucked, Spam-A-Lot, and Juliet, Back to the Future, and How to Dance in Ohio. It's going to be such a fun time, you guys.
You're listening to Fan Fave with Katrina.
Fan Fave with Katrina.
We're talking all about the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade today, and as I mentioned, I was in the parade 2 years in a row, back in 2021, and then also last year in 2022, I had the fantastic opportunity to be a balloon handler. Now, at the beginning of this episode, I mentioned that going to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is like the hottest, most exclusive club in New York City, and I said exclusive because being in the parade is like the most exclusive thing ever. You either have to be a Macy's employee or be friends and family of one, but you can also be like a friends and family or employee of like one of their sponsors or other people in the show. But most of the time, it's going to be like a Macy's employee. So now if you know me, I've never worked for Macy's and I don't today. So you're probably wondering how I got into this parade. I got in because, as I previously mentioned before, I was actually an NBC intern. And so NBC, if you've watched a parade, you probably know that they're the ones that kind of have the main broadcast of the parade. They're the ones that have their host out on 34th Street right in front of the Macy's, kind of like the official host of the parade. And so they're like the main broadcast network behind it. And I remember back in 2021 when I was an intern, they sent out an email to all of the interns like, hey, if you're interested in volunteering for the parade, sign up here. And I was like, oh, absolutely, 100%. I need to do this because I love the parade and it's always been a dream to go. And now I'm being told like I might have the chance to be in it. And so I sent in the form and like I got accepted like right away. And I was so excited, but also like extremely nervous because I didn't know anybody else that was like doing it. And I also like got all of the approval pretty late in the process. For people that do sign up to be balloon handlers, they have multiple trainings like in September and October and like also a balloon fest to kind of train. And I missed all of those, like all of the dates had passed. So the first day that I was ever going to learn how to hold a balloon was the day of the parade. And I was like really nervous about it because like, you know, it gets windy. You've seen like the Barney video and all of those crazy things that could happen at the parade. And I know they're not like super common, but I was like, oh gosh, like how's this gonna go? Like you had to be like a specific like weight to get the balloons and stuff. Like there's so many restrictions. Like my dad was joking about like, oh, you better not like hold the balloon and fly away. And I was like, that's not gonna happen. But anyways, I was like very nervous about it. And the first year, it was during COVID, so it was still a little bit untraditional. We had to wear masks and they actually mailed our costumes out. So it kind of changed a lot of like how the parade day is typically done. And I remember like waking up the morning up. I was so excited. I was on the subway at like 5 a.m., headed up to Macy's 34th Street, and they actually like bussed us all because the parade like it starts out by Central Park. And so I remember they bussed us all out there and I was on the Pikachu and Evie balloon, which was actually its premiere year back in 2021. It was the first year that they flew it. And it was actually the last giant balloon in the parade that year. And so it was so cool. I will say like the day before the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, they have like this huge like balloon inflation party where you can actually go and see them like inflate the balloons. And I remember I wanted to go and like me and my friend like rode the subway all the way out there and we got there like super late because we had class and it was like a 3-hour wait and I was like, I can't do this, I gotta get up in the morning. So I didn't even really see like the balloons up close either until like the day of the parade. And like basically how they have it is like all of the balloons are like in nets, like lining up these two streets by Central Park, and everybody's kind of like meeting up like around the balloon area, and everybody's in such a great mood. I think that's like one of my favorite things ever is like how happy and exciting everyone is because it's a holiday and like we're at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. Like it's so cool. But what I didn't realize is like how big the balloons are. I mean, there's probably like 50 to 100 people on each balloon and it's crazy. Like so many people out there. There's so many people just in the parade in general. I mean, there are people like that are cheerleaders. There are people that are like clowns and like just like school bands and stuff. So it's like so many people are just so excited to be there and so happy. And I just really loved that about it. I remember like the first time I like took the balloon, like basically the way it is you have like these bones and everybody takes like one. So it's like I said, about 50 to 100 people on a balloon, and you're all like holding down the balloon, and then there's like captains and all of these other people that are like in charge of like telling you when to go and like whether to roll up or roll down the bone because that controls like how tight the balloon is and like how high or low it is and how you're like moving and making turns and stuff. It's a lot. Like it's a lot, you guys. Like I didn't realize how much would go into it. Even though like I did like watch like a virtual training, I didn't realize how much like active activity you have to do during the parade. It's not just like walking down the street holding the bone. Like you're like constantly being told to like roll it up or roll it down. And like there's a turn like coming around the corner of Central Park. I think it's Columbus Circle. I don't know. I'm kind of like rusty on my New York streets. But I think it's Columbus Circle. And that part, like, they try to get you through super fast because if it's like any little bit of wind, it's such a sharp circle turn. And the balloon will literally like tilt or move back and forth. Like, all of that was like stressing me out, I have to admit. But nevertheless, it was like so much fun. I feel like another thing that they don't show on TV is like genuinely like how many people are out there at every corner, every crevice of those streets. I mean, it was absolutely packed. So many people. You would look up into the sky, like people were hanging out of the windows of like these tall buildings looking out at you. They were on top of balconies. Like, everyone is out there, and it's like just such a crazy thing to see from that perspective of like walking down the streets and like being in the parade. And like, I just remember also like, because there's so many people to a balloon, sometimes people will be on the sides and like throwing candy at the kids, and it's just like the cutest thing ever, because I can only imagine how that's like a core memory for so many kids, like being barricaded at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade and seeing all the balloons up close. And it just felt really special to kind of be a little bit of that piece of magic for those kids. But yeah, being in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade is like so much fun, so much fun. And then at the end of it, I know I mentioned earlier, like, they used to like just let the balloons go into the air. Obviously, they don't do that anymore. And so you actually, like, with the rest of your balloon team, get to deflate the balloons on like a separate street that's like closed off from the public. And that's always so fun because people are like laying on top of the balloons, letting all the air out. And yeah, like, it's just like such a special memory of mine. And I remember, like, because I'm crazy, I get on the subway, go right back to my dorm, grab all of my bags, and then I would like catch the Amtrak home to make it all the way back down to Maryland for Thanksgiving dinner. And I would do like all of that in a day, and like that exhaustion with that good food, just amazing, just absolutely amazing. So obviously, when I got the opportunity to do it again in 2022, I could not say no. And that time, I got to take one of my good friends with me, Madeline, and we had a time, okay? This time, I actually found out about doing the parade earlier, so I actually did get like the opportunity to go to the Balloon Fest, which is like kind of like a training, kind of like a publicity moment where like they reveal like the new balloons that are going to be in the parade to the press, and they invite all the press out at MetLife Stadium. And so I went to that, and that was like so much fun. I remember like having to get up pretty early in the morning to go, and like they bussed us out to MetLife Stadium, and everybody was so cheery and all. And I actually got to fly the new Diary of a Wimpy Kid balloon that had come out that year. And they also gave us like really cute sweatshirts. So it was such a fun time. I really loved going and being able to do the Balloon Fest. And then for this parade, I actually got assigned to fly Bluey, which was also another brand new balloon. And I was really excited to be able to be on the Bluey balloon because no like shame in it. I'll admit, like sometimes I would put on Bluey during the pandemic. It would just be on TV and I wouldn't cut it off. And I was like chill with it, you know? I love the theme song. I love the music of Bluey. And so I was really excited to have the Bluey balloon. And the costumes for Bluey are so cute. And I forgot to mention, like, the costumes in general for like the parade balloon handlers, you don't see them on TV really, but they are so cute. Like, it's like overalls, and then you usually get like this, like, I don't know what it's called, like a shawl thing that goes over you, but the designs are always like paired up to the balloon, and there's some of like the most creative designs ever. So like the year before, like I had the Pikachu one, and then this year I had one for Bluey, and it was so cute. Like this like light blue color. I'll post pictures of it on social media so you all can see. And I remember like this year they kind of like pulled back on like a lot of the restrictions that they previously had for COVID. So they didn't mail us our costumes this year. We actually got to go out to like this big theater where they had like all of our costumes in there, and we got to get dressed there. And so that was really exciting. Everybody was super hyped. And then yeah, we headed uptown to Central Park again. Now, the second year that I did the parade, I was a balloon handler, but then when we got there, they like asked if anybody wanted to be the banner carriers. So me and my friend like volunteered for that, and we ended up kind of like being like in between the balloon and the barrier, like just kind of walking, waving, and like helping out with like keeping the photographers and stuff out of the way of the balloon. And so that year it was a lot less stressful, I have to say, because like we weren't carrying like the balloon and having to worry about all of that, but we were doing like a lot of walking backwards. But there was a lot of times where like I could really stop and like take it all in. And I really loved that because it's really, like I said, like such a beautiful vantage point to be able to have for the parade. And we got some really cool photos as well. And so it was just like a very special moment that I was like so grateful to be able to say that I did it twice, because like some people don't even get the opportunity to do it once. So I was like eternally grateful for that. I will never not be grateful for my experiences and being able to be a part of this parade for 2 years. This year, I will be going to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade again, but this will be my first time to watch it from the vantage point of an audience member, and I'm very excited about it to be able to go and now like see it, because like I said, you're like really into the parade when you're in it, and so you're only really paying attention to the balloon that you're on. And I guess last year I paid a little bit more attention to like everything around me because of the fact that like part of my job last year was to kind of like make sure we weren't running into the people in front of us and stuff like that. But this year, like, I really get to take it in and like see every balloon, see every float, see every performer, which I've never been able to do before, and I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I'm so happy that I was able to turn my annual experience of watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade at home to literally being in it. And I mean, I have to say one of my favorite parts, just to close this episode, my favorite memory from both years is being able to walk through that final spot of the parade on 34th Street where they're broadcasting live. All of like the Today Show anchors are on one side. You can hear them like talking on like the speakers and everything. I mean, that's like such a special moment because that's the moment that like you're so used to seeing, and it's like, whoa, like I'm here, like how did this happen? This is the part where like the street is like painted green and it has that big star that you see like the Broadway actors and the Rockettes and all of these other performances on that one part, and now you're there. It's like mind blowing. I just absolutely love the parade, as you can see. That's all for today, though. Happy holidays. I hope you all are very excited about the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday as much as me. Make sure you're following Fan Fave on all social media platforms because I'll be posting up pictures from my time in the Thanksgiving Day Parade, and I'll also be taking you along with me as I head to the parade next week. As a reminder, this podcast is a hub for all things pop culture. Keep listening to Fan Fave for recaps and breakdowns of the latest in entertainment news, trending topics, and more. As Fan Fave is a bi-weekly podcast, you can expect new episodes every other Tuesday when I'll dive into a different aspect of pop culture. You can also stay in touch and join the Fan Fave community on social media, where I'll be posting additional video content and vlogs from my many adventures and events I attend in the entertainment world. That's at Fan Fave Media everywhere, so connect with me because I want to interact and hear from all of you, my fellow fans of pop culture. Thanks for listening and see you soon.